All right, you guys. Sorry. I'm a little ticked off, dude. I just recorded a 20-minute podcast and I forgot to hit record on the audio, so it's just junk now. So I'm gonna do it again, and you're not gonna get the, I guess, most original, but I'm gonna try to just go over what I went over before. But first thing I want to start doing is tagging the Tree Line podcast in the beginning and in the end of each podcast. So please, if you haven't already, like, follow, and subscribe to the Tree Line podcast on YouTube or Spotify, and or both as well. Tree Line podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and that's it. That's all we got. But also, if you choose to reuse the content, or if you choose to stitch the content, or if you choose to duet it, or just straight up download and repost, that's fine. I don't care. Do what you will. Do what you must. Please just tag Treeline Podcast so that Treeline Podcast is still getting the credit for it. It is the Treeline Podcast, okay? A huge feat for us here at Treeline Podcast, at least I think it's a big feat. The hashtag Treeline Podcast is at like 267,000 views. So everything that has Treeline Podcast tagged in it is now up to 267,000 views on TikTok. That's just TikTok. Not talking about other platforms. But that's just something I noticed. And it's really cool. And I just want to say thank you guys a lot for watching and engaging with the content. And just continue to do so, man. I really appreciate it, and thanks. Anyways, today, what I wanted to talk about, or what I did speak about earlier, but unfortunately lost everything. Yeah, the Randlesham Forest Incident. Okay, this took place in the UK in the year 1980. It was an incident involving some UAP, the United States Air Force, and there were some correlations with that story and something that's very familiar to me that I'm going to get into in this specific episode. Okay, but some cool things about the Randlesham Forest Incident. It took place over the course of about 2 or 3 days, I believe, starting the 26th December of 1980, when it was reported that there were some objects as bright as stars. Basically, the light. This is the word they use, and I don't see the quote here, but I did watch a documentary today at work. Okay, so when I say at work, I take calls at work. So between calls, I get a little bit of time, and I'll hit play on a documentary or something, and then pause when I get the next call, and just kind of take my day like that. So it turns out the way it was reported was they saw something, as they explained it as star bright. So it was a bright light floating around in the woods. Now that to me kind of resonated with me because I have a story. All right. From when I was a young kid, this was back in the year 2000 when I was in the 6th grade. We went on a 6th grade trip to Canyonlands Arches National Park. Those of you familiar, super gorgeous out there, really open, huge Grand Canyons out there. It's gorgeous. So we went there on our little 6th grade trip, and it was like a week long, which I don't think 6th grade trips, I don't think they do that in the 6th grade anymore. Back in 2000, I guess people were like, yeah, take my kids for a week. I don't care. But not anymore. That shit don't fly no more. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. But so anyways, went for this trip that took a week long anyways. And I had two really close friends, two pretty much best friends at the time. Most, kids my age that time in the 6th grade, your friends are like your best friends. You know what I mean? You guys are always inseparable. And there was 3 of us. I told this story on TikTok like 2 years ago or something. I was drunk. So if you want to dig through it, you can find it. But the story hasn't changed. And the story never will change. I mean, it's the same. I have really crappy memory too. And my brother can attest to it. We just spoke about this the other day. And a lot of people that know me can attest to it. My memory sucks, man. It sucks. But I remember some things. Some things that affect me to a certain point. I don't know why it is, but I'll remember. And I'm sure it's just like a stress. When your stress is heightened or whatever, you have a tendency to remember more just because, just because of the heightened sense of I guess, heightened sense of stress, fear, or just your fucking sight. When your senses heighten, you just remember more. I don't know. I guess that's just what it is. And so I'd remember more. I've got an incident. I got weird incidences throughout my life that I can't forget that just happened to me. But there's other parts of my life that have happened that I can't. I mean, I couldn't tell you one thing about them. I just forget. An incident in my sister's house I could talk about another time. I'm sure she knows what I'm talking about. Something I can't explain that I'll never be able to explain. And it happened to me there. And then this incident I'm going to talk about today from the 6th grade. So anyways, let's just dive into that. So I found it familiar, or I found it interesting that in this specific incident that took place in 1980 in Randlesham in the UK, which, by the way, they treat this like their version of Roswell. They got a lot of tourism. They bring in a lot of tourists with the alien idea and the UAP idea, and they base it all off this incident that took place, like I said, in December 1980. But it's interesting because this Ramstein story correlates in two ways that stood out to me with my little story. The sun bright light floating through the woods. Like, that's literally how I explained this in the 6th grade to my teachers. Like, that's what we saw. And then there was a second part, but let me dive into the first part because I want to kind of stay in the timeline here of what happened in my little story as it correlates with this one. So that I remember that trip specifically. We were staying up late. A couple of boys in the 6th grade just fucking, I don't know. We felt free. We weren't home. We could do it. You know, we just felt like, I don't know, cool. We were out camping with each other, with best friends. You know, we were having a great time staying up late in our little tent. We had a tent to ourselves, 3 of us. And to this day, I don't believe it was sound. So we didn't hear anything. Nothing attracted us audibly, unless the people that were there with me, one of which I'm a friend with to this day. If you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to. The other one I've tried to get in contact with, but he doesn't want nothing to do with me or the story. I don't know. He just, whatever. Anyways, but one of them, we stay in contact, and he can, you know, verify to the best of, you know, if you guys accept our verification and credibilities, then he can verify some of this story. I don't remember any sound that pulled us from the tent that night, but I do remember specifically seeing a very bright light in the woods, just floating through the woods. And my 2 buddies saw it too, and we were all scared. And that pretty much ended our night. Like, we were having a great time being 3 little kids, you know, hanging out. We just got a tent. We felt like $1 million. And then we see this thing, and it just kind of like, we were scared. We didn't want to get out the tent. We were literally scared. And that just kind of ended our night. And then the next day we brought it up to our teachers, and went about the rest of the week with our Arches National Park trip, you know, and it was great. We did some hiking and some other things, and we had a great time. Okay, let me step back. So we told our teachers about that the next morning, right? And another part of this story that is the second part that just made a connection between my story and this Rendlesham Forest incident in the UK. There was a second correlation. The next morning, after they seen these things floating through the woods, they went out to investigate. I don't know. They're Air Force. I'm sure they didn't wait till the next morning, but we did because we were 6th grade kids. You know what I'm saying? We were scared shitless. But these guys, they went and investigated, and they found exactly what I found. And I verbalized this on that TikTok like 2 years ago. If you want to dig it up, you can find it. Okay. But they found broken branches and burnt leaves, just like we did. We found that same stuff. Like, and I could tell you it wasn't a vehicle. There was no sound. There's no road right there. It was just through the woods. It just went through the woods. A bright light that just floated through the woods. And it was so bright. I remember it was so bright. So that stood out to me in the story, and the burnt leaves, burnt branches, and broken branches and stuff when they went to investigate the location of what they saw. And that's what we saw too. So just hearing those 2 things in that documentary today, I was just like, whoa, dude, like, that's very familiar to me. Literally, I've literally used that same exact terminology, the same exact verbiage, broken leaves, broken branches, and a light. Well, I don't think I said sun bright light, but I've described that thing as bright, as a very bright light in the woods before, and it was bright as shit. Basically, it was fucking bright, dude. So those two things from the Ramstein incident in the UK kind of stood out to me, and I was like, wow, man, like maybe that, I don't know, maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe there's some similar correlation there. I don't know, maybe whoever's operating like these UAP things in Canyonlands, maybe they got a branch off in the UK. I don't know, man. I don't know. But that incident stood out to me today. There's another incident that you guys should check out too. Oh yeah, before we get into that second incident, I want to finish my story about the school thing, because when they talk about like stigmas and stuff, dude, and I was just in the 6th grade, but I totally felt like the stigma, man, because like we told our teachers, and I guess they thought it was funny or cute of a couple kids to say that. I guess they thought it was funny or cute. I don't know. But as soon as we got back to school, it was like that Friday, and our school had like a school school newsletter every Friday, and the newsletter came out. So I don't know if they called back. I went like they texted. They weren't texting back in the year 2000. Actually, I don't even remember. I don't think they were texting the year 2000. I don't freaking know. Maybe they were. Anyways, maybe they got in contact with back to the school before we got back. But in the newsletter was our story about what we saw, what we told the teachers we saw. And I remember specifically, a lot of kids were laughing at us. A lot of kids thought it was a big joke. And I felt that. I felt like embarrassed. But there's nothing you could do about it, because I know. And I remember telling my buddies, like, dude, everybody thinks we're lying, but we know what we, like, dude, I'll never, looking back on it now, Sheldon, dude. And I spoke to him a couple years back when I put that video on TikTok to get his permission. So if I wanted to drop his name, I could. And that was 2 years ago. Hopefully he's still cool with it. I won't drop his last name, but Sheldon was there with me. And he can, I mean, I'm sure he follows one of these platforms, and he can attest to it. If he wants to jump out and leave a comment or something, that's fine. But I mean, when we got back to school, dude, like I felt like singled out, man. Like we felt like losers. Everybody was making fun of us, man. Like that stigma, even in the 6th grade, dude. Like there's stigma in the 6th grade. I mean, obviously it didn't. I don't think it affected my life. Like it's not like a big secret I had to keep covered up forever, like a whistleblower. I mean, I tell people that story all the time, whether they believe me or not. I could honestly give two fucks, dude. Like I don't care. I witnessed it with 2 other kids at the time, and one of them doesn't talk to me. He was super religious. I remember his parents didn't even let us hang out together because he was like Jehovah's Witness or something, and they don't let their kids hang out with. We were Catholic kids, so I guess they just don't. I don't know if they just don't like Catholic kids or it's just all religions. I'm not sure. If you got some intel, I guess drop some intel on that. But yeah, I remember feeling that stigma specifically, dude, and I was just like, damn, dude, like I felt bad because I was like, everybody thinks we're a big joke, bro, and I was telling the truth. So I was just like, what the fuck, man. But anyways, that time came and went a long time ago. Since then, I do have another weird incident. I guess I didn't talk about this on the podcast I filmed today that I forgot to press record on the audio, which really pissed me off. But anyways, I did talk about it earlier, but I'll talk about it now. I will say like a few years back, 3 years ago or so, I had a dog back then, and I would walk my dogs in the neighborhood, and I seen some bright light in the sky, and I have it recorded on my phone. I record on a different phone, but it's in the iCloud, so it's technically in this phone right here. So I guess I could dig it up, and maybe I'll put it like right here or something. Maybe I'll put it there for like 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3. That's all you get. I'm just doing 3 seconds because people listen to this on Spotify too. I'm not going to sit there for 5 seconds for you to see that picture. All right, so I'm going to have to go through post-production. I'll put that picture right there, okay? But yeah, so I took a video of it, and it was hard to hold my camera still, my phone still, because my dog at the time was dragging me around. So you can hear me in the video. You can hear me like, stop, Samson, stop it. And then you can hear me like, what the fuck is that? And I'm holding up my phone, and I don't know what it was, because it looked like a gas, dude. It looked like a pink, red gas. I'll show you the picture, like I said, because I snapped a shot of the video. I can show you the video too, but actually, might as well. I might as well throw that video in here too. Okay, fuck it. I'll throw the video in there too. If I find it. Okay, I'm not going to say if I find it. I'll find that shit. All right. But, What the fuck is that? Yeah. So it was really weird. But it looked like a pink red kind of gas, and it was just staying stationary in the sky. So I don't know. I've heard stories about people seeing lightning go into the sky, and it leaves like that reddish look. It could have been that, but it was stagnant. It just stayed there for like a couple of minutes. So I don't think it was lightning. But maybe it was a remnant of something like that. So I'm being honest with you. I see weird shit, but this one I'm not sure if it's something intelligent. I just think it might be a natural phenomena that I don't know about. Maybe like red, pink gas in the sky. I don't know if you guys understand anything, if that makes sense to anybody who has more knowledge about that. If you want to drop some whatever, just let me know. Either way, it was weird for me. I've never seen anything up to that point like that, and since I've never seen anything like that. So I always thought that was weird. That's another, I guess, incident in the sky that I got that I can't explain. But the one that reminded me of the Randlesham Incident, that wasn't in the sky. Well, technically, it was like it was high enough, like it was floating high enough, but it wasn't in the sky. It was going through the tree line. The tree line. Oh my god, yeah, man. Also, so I did 20 minutes earlier. I'm obviously coming in a little short here. I do want to tag Treeline Podcast at the end of each podcast, so let's go ahead and do that now. Please like, follow, subscribe, Treeline Podcast. If you want to use the content, if you want to stitch, if you want to duet, please do so. Please download the whole video off YouTube and repost it if you want to. I don't care. Just as long as you are tagging the Treeline Podcast. Give the Treeline Podcast the credit it deserves, please. It doesn't have a lot of fans right now, not yet. But maybe one day. Let me tell you guys something that have been following the Treeline Podcast. I just checked our hashtag on TikTok. Just on TikTok. Just the hashtag on TikTok, not the other platforms. And just on TikTok, the hashtag Treeline Podcast has been played over 267,000 times. And that's awesome. And I thank you guys for that. That's totally cool. Obviously, the long version videos, it's hard getting people into those. I get it. But we're working, man. We're trying. Until then, please, keep following, subscribing, commenting. Utilize the content for your own fucking well-being. Make money. I mean, do what you can. Do the right thing, but you're more than welcome to use this content for whatever you want, as long as you tag the Treeline Podcast. All right, you guys, I love you. Tomorrow, I was thinking about doing a podcast strictly about just deployment routines, so if that's something you're interested in listening to, then tomorrow we will hit on that. All right, guys, I love you. Have a great night, and Let's fucking get after it this week, man. It's only Monday, so let's beat the shit out the week, brother. All right, later.